everyone, and welcome back to the Football Chuggu Podcast. My name is Thomas Durning, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Pearse McLaughlin. Hello, Pearse.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing well. That's a nice haircut.
Cheers.
On today's podcast, we'll be reacting to last weekend's Scottish League Cup results and also the English Premier League results. We'll be discussing all the latest transfer news from around the globe, and at the end of the podcast, Pearse will be giving a rundown of all the latest Asian football news. So coming up next, we'll be reacting to last weekend's Scottish League Cup results. So I'll just run through quickly all the results. So Rangers 2, Morton 1, Airdrie 3, Ross County 4, St Mirren 1, Motherwell 0, Livingston 2, Ayr United 0, Hibs 2, Raith Rovers 1, Hearts 4, Partick Thistle 0, Kilmarnock 1, Celtic 0. So Pearse, which match stands out to you from last weekend's Scottish League Cup results?
No, for me, it's got to be the big upset of Kilmarnock 1, Celtic 0 at Rugby Park. Having watched the game live, I thought Kilmarnock set about their game plan spot on, and you can see why they're unbeaten so far in all competitions in the league and in the League Cup group stage. They're just so resolute, and obviously the Rugby Park surface plays a part, like the plastic pitch, but you can't say that about Celtic from last season because they literally scored 9 goals in their two matches there, conceding 0. But under Brendan Rodgers, his sides in the past have struggled because he likes to play that kind of slow, expansive football. And the physicality of Kilmarnock, they just couldn't handle it in terms of just putting their bodies on the line, blocking every shot, clearing it, and then just wave after wave of attack. But it was quite easily dealt with by Kilmarnock because it was quite slow and methodical. But no, and obviously Kilmarnock took one of their only chances, and I don't really recall a save to make from the Kilmarnock goalkeeper at all. But obviously Celtic got some key men out, but you still expect with the lineup that was given, and obviously the subs that came on, that they would have enough to see the game through into the next round. But wasn't to be. But there was obviously some debatable calls in terms of like VAR decisions in terms of offsides or penalty claims. But regardless, I thought Celtic were far too pedestrian, and then probably 9 or 10, maybe even 11 players were just well off the pace. And Kilmarnock thoroughly deserved their victory.
Yep, absolutely. That's also my match that stands out from this weekend in the Scottish League Cup. So just obviously everything you just said about Kilmarnock, I'd repeat as well. You know, I felt, in my opinion, they deserved to win. You know, I felt they were really well organised. You know, they took the chance. I mean, they didn't have a lot of chances in the game, but they took it. And they really did shut Celtic out. And weren't really threatened by Celtic for the whole full match. But I've got to add about Kilmarnock's start to the season. I mean, it's been brilliant. You know, beat Rangers in the first game of the season. Went to Hearts at Tynecastle, got a 0-0 draw, and just beaten Celtic 1-0 in the cup. So it's been a fantastic start for Kilmarnock this season. You know, the early signs for them is that this could be a really, really strong season for them if they can continue this kind of run of form. So congratulations to Kilmarnock, first of all. And then just touching on Celtic, you know, again, everything you said I'd agree with. You know, a very poor performance. You know, very, very slow in a kind of build-up play. The one thing I came out with Celtic is the fact that I don't really see any signs of I don't really know what way Celtic are trying to build up the play. You know, there doesn't seem to be any real patterns at the moment. Everything seems to. I think a lot of the players are still getting used to the fact that there's a new manager now, Brendan Rodgers, and you know, under Ange Postecoglou there was a certain style of play that the players played, but under Brendan Rodgers it's different. So I think the players are still getting used to that at the moment, which is kind of, you know, I think everything's just a little bit confusing. Obviously, injuries as well for Celtic are quite a big thing for them at the moment. The two centre backs for Celtic at the weekend were Narovki and Lagerbäck, and they two have just come into the club and they're playing with each other. So things like that, don't really help Celtic at all. And yep, that's Celtic now out of the cup, the first time of asking, and their chances of a treble are gone. So I think for Celtic as well, I think Dennis McInnes, the Kilmarnock manager, touched on it, is that the Kilmarnock team seem more settled at the moment than the Celtic team, which I kind of do agree with. It feels like Kilmarnock have a team and everything's settled, and there's not players that are leaving. I think they've got all their business sorted. Whereas with Celtic, it's not. It's all players. It's all kind of up in the air. Players could still be leaving. Celtic still need to sign players. So it's definitely going to be an interesting next few days for Celtic in terms of coming into the end of the transfer window to see what happens. So that's my standout result of the weekend. But I just want to quickly add about the Airdrie Ross County result. Ross County won that match 4-3. I didn't get to see that. I don't know if you did, Pearse, if you've seen any of that match, but that definitely seemed like an amazing match to watch. So we also have Scottish teams playing in European ties this week. So just before we get into these matches that were played, firstly, we need to say congratulations to all the Scottish teams that got through to the next round. I called last week that they would all get through, and that's what they did. So the matches that, in European ties that were played this week include Rangers versus PSV, Hibs versus Aston Villa, Hearts versus PAOK, and Hacken versus Aberdeen. So, Pearse, how do you think these teams will perform in this week's European ties?
Could be a very tough ask, but they've done tremendously well getting this far into the playoff rounds, and I hope all four teams go through. Firstly, touching on, we'll start with the Rangers versus PSV. It's a mammoth tie. It's the repeat of last year's playoff round where Rangers got a 2-2 draw at Ibrox, and then against all odds won 1-0 in Holland. And I don't think anyone called that. And because the amount of money that PSV spent last summer, they just basically thought that it was a given right that they would get into the Champions League, but that wasn't to be. And obviously this season's a bit different for Rangers because, but like Celtic, they've got a lot of massive rebuild done already, and they've not really hit a full flight so far. Because as you see at the weekend, they struggled against Green at Morton in the League Cup, and most of the side that was played in that match was arguably probably their strongest side. So it's going to be a tough task, but I do feel that Rangers need to win the first leg. I don't think a repeat of last year will happen where they'll go away from home and win in Europe. I feel as if you need to have some sort of advantage to go over to Holland to hold on to and hopefully hit them on the counter attack and nick a goal. But if I'm going to call that, I'd probably edge towards Rangers, and I'll probably say 2-1 Rangers because both sides are quite evenly matched, I would say. And obviously PSV are a very strong outfit in Dutch football. In terms of Hibs Aston Villa, it's the John McGinn game. He's coming back home. I do feel Hibs have been obviously we've touched on terrible domestically, but in Europe they just seem to find another level, and you just never know. But with the side that Aston Villa have assembled, just won 4-0 at the weekend against Everton, and they looked like some scintillating stuff at times. And obviously probably the main man they've got now is probably Moussa Diaby. And obviously with Unai Emery at the helm, he's basically expected to win a European trophy. So it's going to be a monumental task. But I do think Aston Villa will have a bit too much for Hibs. I think that could be 3-1 Aston Villa. I do think Hibs will score, but I do think it will be more a welcoming for John McGinn. In terms of Hearts and PAOK, Salonika, Hearts again, fantastic comeback against Rosenborg in last week. Kimmy Devlin with a double, the one on the 92nd minute. Absolute scenes at Tynecastle. We called that before the game that Tynecastle would have to be the 12th man, and it certainly was. It's a hostile atmosphere, and Rosenborg used to be a Champions League side. They've got a great European pedigree, and that is a mammoth skill. And I do think, obviously, PAOK, I wouldn't say they're a bigger outfit, but they're a decent Europa League side. And also, this is the Conference League, but I do feel as if Hearts will just have a bit too much for them. I'm going to go with 3-1 Hearts. I think they could just go build on that, and every week I see Hearts, they're just getting a wee bit stronger and stronger. Yeah, so I'm going back Hearts for that one. And in terms of Hacken versus Aberdeen, I don't know too much about the Danish side. Haven't really seen them play, to be honest, but Aberdeen, I've been thoroughly impressed by them. Even last weekend, or 2 weekends ago, when he played Celtic in the opening day of the SPL season. Although they lost 3-1, they had numerous opportunities, and at the back end of last season, I was thoroughly impressed by the job that Barry Robson has done at the helm as caretaker and now full-time manager. They're very organised, well drilled, and they offer some nice attacking football. And obviously, Duke and Miofsky and a few others have obviously the permanent sign of Leighton Clark's as well. So they've some talented players, and obviously the experience of Graham Shinnie and stuff like that. I've been impressed with Aberdeen. I think they're solid defensively. That was what was the problem was under Jim Goodwin, but they've also now get more of an attacking threat. And I do think I'm going back Aberdeen to win that one 2-1, and that's my preview for the European ties.
Yep. Thanks, Pearse. And yeah, I'll just kind of quickly run through my kind of preview. So Rangers PSV, obviously, I kind of repeat of last year when Rangers famously got through into the Champions League group stage. I'd agree with you, Pearse. I think Rangers, they're at home in the first leg. I really do think they'll need to win this match. Because I think going to PSV away will be really tough for them. I don't think they'll win away in Holland this time around when they did last season. I wouldn't say PSV are as strong as last year. Last year when they played Rangers, they had the likes of Xabi Simons, Cody Gakpo. These players aren't at PSV anymore. So PSV aren't as strong as last year, but they are still a very good side. My prediction for that match tonight, which is getting played tonight, by the way, at the time of recording this, I'm going to say 2-1 Rangers. I think their home kind of form will kind of get them through that, and then it's all to play for next week in Holland. So 2-1 Rangers for that match, and Hibs versus Aston Villa. That's the one that's the match I'm most excited for. That's going to be so interesting. As you said, it's the John McGinn match, so to speak. Coming back to his former club. But although Hibs, they had a really good kind of tie against Luzern and they got through that, I just think Aston Villa are just going to be too strong for them. Aston Villa are probably the favourites to win the Conference League this season. And you look at the squads compared to Aston Villa compared to Hibs, and it's night and day. Aston Villa have top class players that play international football. But Hibs, Easter Road, they could pull out a surprise. You never know. Hibs will be really, really up for that match. They'll want to test themselves. They want to prove themselves that they can compete against these top teams. But I'm going to say what you said, Pearse. I'm going to go with 3-1 Aston Villa. I just think Aston Villa will have too much for them. But what a tie for Hibs. It's going to be a really, really good match to watch. And then Hearts versus PAOK Salonika. You touched on it. What a result for Hearts last week. A last-minute goal to send them through. It was a really good comeback. This PAOK Salonika side, I'll be honest, I don't know too much about them. I know they're from Greece, and I know teams in Greece, you know, they're quite good sides. They are really good sides. So Hearts are obviously at home first, and I think they'll need to win that match by at least a couple of goals. You know, because I think going to Greece away from home, I think that'll be really, really tough. A really hostile atmosphere. So I'm going to say I'm actually going to go 3-1 Hearts for that match. You know, I've got just with the fact that it's Tynecastle. You know, I saw it last weekend as well that, you know, Hearts really put in a really good performance and they're really capable. So I'm going to say 3-1 Hearts for that match. And then lastly, Hacken versus Aberdeen. You know, I think this is the Europa League to get into Europa League this match. And I think it's such a good tie for Aberdeen. It really is. Such a good opportunity for them. You know, they're obviously playing away from home first. So I think Aberdeen's mindset will be stay in that match, whether it's a draw or, you know, even if they lose that match, as long as they can get that match back to Pittodrie, still in the match or even winning the match. So, but I think Aberdeen are capable of doing that. For that match, I'm going to say 1-1. And I think that'd be a really good result for Aberdeen to take back to Pittodrie. But yeah, so just rounding it all up, you know, it's really good to see, by the way, all these Scottish teams in the kind of last rounds of the European competitions. You know, not we haven't said that as much over the years. You know, there's not been a great Scottish representation. It's always just been Celtic and Rangers mainly. So it's good to see all these teams in kind of the last rounds of these European competitions, and it'd be interesting to see what happens. So we will now move on to reacting to last weekend's English Premier League results. So again, I'll just quickly run through them. So Nottingham Forest 2, Sheffield United 1, Liverpool 3, Bournemouth 1, Wolves 1, Brighton 4, Fulham 0, Brentford 3, Tottenham 2, Man United 0, Man City 1, Newcastle United 0, Aston Villa 4, Everton 0, West Ham 3, Chelsea 1, and lastly, Crystal Palace 0, Arsenal 1. So Pearse, which match from last weekend's Premier League matches stands out to you?
So I went with Wolves 1, Brighton 4. Gary Neal's done tremendous job last season when he took over under trying circumstances at Bournemouth, and he's got the same again this time at Wolves, who, like you say, Lopetegui left the position because he wasn't given any funds, and that's what he's got to try to stay in the division. But I think Gary Neal's a top class manager, and they were unlucky. They were unlucky to not take anything from Old Trafford a few weeks ago. And I feel as if Brighton under De Zerbi are just getting stronger and stronger. They've just sold Caicedo to Chelsea for £115 million, and they just look stronger. And the man that just continues to impress me is Karo Matoma. I think the boy is absolutely electric, and he's scintillating at times. The way he just kind of dribbles with ease, he just takes in anyone. There's like no fear, and he just wants to take on a man. There's no getting the ball and just passing it backwards. He's always positive. He's wanting to go forward, and they've just got a young side that are exciting. But obviously, this summer they've kind of brought in a couple of experienced heads. I think like the signing of James Milner's a masterstroke, because you offer that experience, but obviously the versatility that he can play in a variety of roles. And a man that has played through the divisions for Brighton was a standout for me at the weekend was Solly March as well. I think a lot of people probably thought he wasn't good enough for the Premier League, but the back end of last season, and he started the season again on fine form, and obviously the big man up front, Evan Ferguson, alongside Danny Welbeck, and that young man is destined for greatness. And I feel as if, like you say, the experience of a Danny Welbeck, who's been through it and seen it all at elite clubs and Arsenal, Manchester United, will offer that experience to the younger players. So I think they've got the right balance, and like you say, the scouting network they get as well, just bringing in a conveyor belt of talent. I just love to watch them, and they're just one of the most exciting teams to watch in the Premier League. And as a neutral, it's beautiful to watch. And that's how the way football should be played.
Yeah, absolutely. Brighton is one of the standout matches at the weekend. What a goal Matoma scored as well. That was a fantastic goal, probably the goal of the weekend. But my standout match is different. I'm going to say the Tottenham to Man United 0 result. So the reason I go for that game is because I just think that was the first time the Premier League kind of got their eyes open to the way Ange Postecoglou wants his teams to play. Me and you, obviously, watching Scottish football and stuff, we know kind of a lot about Ange Ball. So for the Premier League to see it, I think that was the first time they really saw, what this Tottenham team could be capable of under Postecoglou. I thought they were brilliant Tottenham on the day. Really put Man United under a lot of pressure. The Bissouma was brilliant. He was really, really good in that midfield alongside Pape Sarr. And yeah, I think they fully deserved to win the match. And I think Tottenham fans should be really excited. There just seems to be a really good energy with Tottenham at the moment now. Now with the kind of Harry Kane saga over, this new style of football that's more energetic, that's more positive. I think Tottenham fans could be really excited this season. And then just kind of briefly touching on Man United, it doesn't seem to be all kind of right at the moment. I think they've got a lot of issues in midfield. That midfield doesn't really seem to be set up right at the moment. I think they're needing a striker as well, Man United, because they did have chances that weekend as well. But that is my standout match from the weekend. I just want to briefly touch on the West Ham Chelsea result as well. A brilliant result for West Ham. But in terms of Chelsea, although they did lose the match, there seems to be a lot of good signs there that it's a team that's going to keep on improving this season. So my standout match for the weekend is Tottenham 2, Man United 0. So coming up next, we'll be discussing all the latest transfer news from around the globe. So, one of the signings from this week so far is from Liverpool. So on the 18th of August, Liverpool announced that they had signed midfielder Wataru Endo from Stuttgart for a fee of about £16.2 million. So the 30-year-old from Japan has agreed a 4-year contract with the club, and he made his debut at the weekend as well. So Pearse, what's your reaction to Liverpool signing Wataru Endo?
Fantastic in terms of Asian football, in terms of the Japan kind of region, because obviously having watched him a lot play for the national side, I think he's a phenomenal player, and I think he's a player that goes under the radar. Although 30 years old, it's taken him a while to get to that elite level, but he has been a consistent performer over in Japan first, and then over in Belgium at St. Truden. And then now he was in the Bundesliga with Stuttgart, and he was a captain, and he was a leader, and he was the man that kind of the enforcer, if you will. And now he'll be getting that Liverpool midfield, and he'll be the like-for-like replacement of like a Jordan Henderson. But I do think he has still, even though he's 30, he'll have more legs than Jordan Henderson, and he's arguably better at breaking up the play. So he's like a combination of like a Fabinho and a Henderson. Obviously, I'm not saying he's that level that he's 2 players in one, but he will add more solidity to that midfield, because obviously they've signed Alexis McAllister and Dominic Szoboszlai, who are a bit more attacking minded. So they need someone that can just sit, dictate the play, break up the play, and just support that back line, because as you know, Liverpool are free flowing, they're attacking fullbacks, and even at the weekend, Trent Alexander-Arnold's got caught out quite a few times making mistakes, so you might have to do a bit of covering for Trent when he goes forward. They might have to cover a variety of positions, but it's a very good signing, and I think it's more a practical signing for Liverpool, but a top signing, and I'm excited to see how he'll do in a Liverpool shirt.
Yep, I totally agree. Like the thing with Wataru Endo is that, I think when it was kind of the news broke that Liverpool were going to sign him, I think Liverpool fans, when, they weren't excited because, he's not that kind of, Wataru Endo isn't that kind of player that, he's known worldwide, and, because he didn't cost as much and because of his age, I think Liverpool fans weren't, really excited about it. But I think it's a really good signing. I know a little bit about him. I've heard about him before. But from what I've heard from the Bundesliga, he's a top player. Being the captain of Stuttgart, who are a massive club. Um, you know, uh, he's had countless games in his football career already. He looks really good in that kind of middle of the pitch. Uh, I don't know if he's going to be the replacement for, as you said, Henderson or Fabinho, but I think he could be because, he really looks a really good player. I still think Liverpool will probably need one more midfielder in that kind of centre of the pitch. Just to kind of add a bit more to their midfield. But I think it's a really good signing for Liverpool. Signing a captain from a Bundesliga club, it's, it's a really good bit of business for them. Didn't cost a lot of money as well. So a really good signing for Liverpool. And yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how Endo performs at Liverpool. So Pearse, is there any other transfer news that you have been following recently or this past week?
Yeah, so the one that I've kind of been caught my eye was Pablo Otavio from Porto to Al Nassr for 60 million euros. I believe it's a record sale for FC Porto. And obviously he was originally born in Brazil, but obviously he now represents the Portuguese national side. Brilliant attacking right winger for Porto. You've seen him in Champions League against top sides and against Scottish sides because Rangers played him a couple of years ago as well, and Porto always kind of do well. So I think he's 28, 29s. So it's a great signing, but it's another top talent leaving Europe to go to Saudi Arabia and obviously link up with his national teammate in Cristiano Ronaldo. So that's the kind of one that I've kind of seen, because obviously you see the Portuguese league getting that sort of fee for a player, and obviously I'm not comparing, but obviously you see obviously Jota leaving Celtic to Al Ittihad for 25, but you just kind of, and he's a bit younger as well. So, but no, but great bit of business from Porto yet again. Another side that just has great conveyor belt, similar to Benfica, where they just get massive fees for their top talents.
Yep, I did see that as well. So that was quite a big bit in transfer news in the Portuguese league. The one that's kind of caught my eye recently is the situation surrounding Kieran Tierney. So the last two Premier League matches that Arsenal played, Tierney's been left out of the Arsenal squad. When Liverpool played when Arsenal played last night, again Kieran Tierney was left out. It looks like that Tierney's going to be moving on in the next few days or so. Apparently Real Sociedad are linked with Kieran Tierney. They want to sign him on loan, but Arsenal are insisting that it has to be a permanent deal. Celtic as well. The links with Celtic aren't really going away at the moment. That's quite an interesting situation to see if Tierney might return to Celtic. But I think with Tierney, it's not good for him to be left out of the squad. I think it kind of says a lot about the fact that he has to move on now. I think he's too good to be not included in squads. And yeah, that's just been kind of catching my eye recently because, he's not playing, and, it does look like he's going to be moving on. So I think in the next few days or so, I think the situation with Kieran Tierney is going to be dealt with, and I think we'll most likely see him moving on to a different club. So yeah, that was.
I think.
Say again.
Touch on the Tierney. I just think he's too, like you said, he's too good a player to be sitting in the bench, not even on the bench, on the stands. And obviously, it's not just for his career, but obviously he now seems to be injury free, and but it's a massive thing for Scotland as well. He needs to be playing football regularly. And obviously he's at the age of 25, 26 years old. He should be coming at his prime. So for me, he deserves to be so much better than just rotting reserves. It's obvious Arteta just doesn't rate him at all. Because otherwise he would be playing him. Because for me, he can play in a variety of positions at centre back or wing back or left back. And he's at times played for Celtic and Scotland at right back as well. But not been interesting, Saga, to see. For the sake of his career, he needs to get out of there. And obviously, like you said, Newcastle have been named in the past. Obviously, you said Solskjaer and obviously the return to Celtic. Well, if Brendan Rodgers came back this summer, you just never know. But for the sake of his career, he just needs to leave, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is time for Tierney to leave as well. And yeah, that'll definitely be sorted, I think, by the end of the transfer window. And, we're kind of, again, week by week, we're approaching the end of this transfer window. So it's going to be interesting to see who leaves and which clubs sign who. So, yep, we'll be there to cover it. So for the final part of the show, Pearse will now give his Asian football roundup.
Yeah, so we're going to kick off with some J League 1 action. So on Friday, the 18th of August, Avispa Fukuoka 0, Alvarez Nagata 1. Urawa Red Diamonds 1, Nagoya Grampus 0, which are top of the table clash, and it saw Urawa Red Diamonds close the gap on Nagoya Grampus. So on Saturday, August 19th, we had Kashima Antlers 2, Sagan Tusu 1, Vassel Kobe 1, Kawashiro Racel 1, Gambo Saka 2, Shonan Belmare 1, Sanfrecce Hiroshima 3, Kawasaki Frentali 2, Kyoto Sanga 3, Hokkaido Consadole Sapporo 0, Yokohama F Mariners 2, SC Tokyo 1. Sunday, August 20th, Yokohama FC 0, Cerezo Osaka 1. And that's leaving the table looking like this. So at the top of the table, Yokohama F Mariners, who have now leapfrogged Vassel Kobe for the first time this season, and are now back at the summit, having won the league last season. With just 10 games to go, it's all to play for now. So Yokohama are top of the table, 24 matches played, 50 points. Right behind them, they've got Vassel Kobe on 48. And in third position, we've got Nagoya Grampus on 45. And in fourth position, we've got Urawa Red Diamonds on 41. So at the bottom of the table, it's just as tight. We've got Shonan Belmare, bottom of the table, 18th position on 17 points. Yokohama FC on 17th position on 18 points. And 16th position, Kawashiro Racel on 19 points. So moving on to the K-League 1 action. Friday, August 18th. Suwon, Samsung Blue Wings 1, Jeju United 1, Jeju United 0, sorry. I've got a match report on that on the Football Chuggu website. Check that out. Incheon United 2, Gwangju FC 2. Saturday, the 19th of August, Gangwon FC 1, Suwon FC 2, Ulsan Hyundai 1, Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors 0, FC Seoul 2, Daegu FC 2. And then on Sunday, the 20th of August, we have Pohang Steelers 4, Daejeon Hana Citizen 3. So that seems to be the match of the weekend there, 4-3. Really good, exciting match there. So leaving the table looking like this, at the top of the table, we've got Ulsan Hyundai on 60 points from 27 matches played. And then you've got Pohang Steelers on 49 points in second position. And in third position, we've got Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors on 41 points. And then in the fourth position, we've got FC Seoul on 39. And then in fifth position as well, we've got Gwangju FC on 39 as well. It proves to be a costly result of the weekend for FC Seoul. We'll touch that on a wee bit later because their manager's been resigned. So, yeah. So, at the bottom of the table, we've got Gangwon FC on 20 points. In 11th position, with Suwon Blue Wings on 22. Now off the foot of the table, having won at the weekend. And Suwon FC on 10th position on 26 points. So now moving on to Asian football news. So Saturday, 19th of August, following FC Seoul's 2-2 draw at home to Daegu FC, manager Ik-Soo has resigned from his post. FC Seoul appointed Kim Jung-kyu as a caretaker manager. So Jurgen Klinsmann's position as head coach of South Korea is under severe pressure less than 6 months into his tenure. No wins in his 4 matches that have been played, no commitment to Korean football, and having Zoom press conferences with the Korean media team from the US. The only way he could turn this around is to win football matches, simple as. Also, the Asian Cup in January in 2024 has to be a priority, but the Asian Cup is never easy to win for any manager. Most of all, he needs to show commitment to Korean football, otherwise he could find himself out the door. Jurgen Klinsmann has responded to this criticism in the Korean media. Unlike in the past, now I can check the status of players through the coaching staff, even when I'm not in Korea. Wherever I am, I work as the manager of the South Korea national team. The KFA have announced that South Korea will play a friendly against Saudi Arabia on the 12th of September at St James's Park in England. A home friendly against Tunisia on the 13th of October has also been confirmed. And South Korea will also play a home friendly against Vietnam this October. So City Football Group have recently held talks with multiple K-League 1 clubs, including Jumbo Hyundai Motors, about acquiring shares. City Football Group, who already own Yokohama F. Marinos in Japan, New York City in America, Melbourne City in Australia, Girona FC in Spain, Mumbai City in India, Montevideo City Torque in Uruguay, as well as Manchester City in England. City Football Group are now looking to add a K-League 1 side to their growing list of clubs owned across the globe. This could be very beneficial for both clubs, as the next generation of Korean talent could be snapped up by Manchester City, either to compete in the first team or sent out on loan to other teams in the City group. For the K-League 1 side, they can also get loans of talented academy players in Manchester City or other teams in the City Football Group. Exciting times. Obviously, money to spend in their domestic league to make them the dominant force by buying the best players possible. And that is all your Asian football news.
Thank you, Pearse. And thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of the Football Chuggu Podcast. This podcast will be available to listen to on the Football Chuggu YouTube channel and also the Football Chuggu website. Thanks for listening and see you soon.
Bye-bye.